I've done David Lynch, I've done David Fincher, I've done Tim Burton, Scorsese. Now it is time to do Stanley Kubrick's films ranked worst to best. So Stanley Kubrick, for those of you that don't know, he's done 13 films. So I'm going to rank his films from 13 to 1, with obviously number 1 being his best, in my opinion. And keep in mind, this is all my opinion. So let's kick it off. Number 13. Number 13 is Killer's Kiss, one of his first films. It's black and white. Very hard to find. It's only like 60 minutes. It's okay. I mean, it's well filmed for sure. I mean, Stanley Kubrick's the king of cinematography, so it goes without saying it's a well filmed movie, but it's overly simple, and I'm not saying I don't like the movie because it's simple. I'm just saying I think it's just an average story that we've seen 1,000 times before, and this is a movie that would have gotten forgotten if not for the fact that it was one of Kubrick's first. That's why it's number 13. Number 12 is another one of his first films, which is Fear and Desire. Similar things. It's well filmed. It's okay. Another one of his films that you only remember simply because it is one of his first films. That's about it. It's 60 or so minutes. It's okay. There really isn't that much to say. That's why I'm not saying anything. It's like, okay. Let's kick off with number 11. So 11 is when things start to get serious. So 11 is we have The Killing. It's a gangster heist type movie, and it inspired a lot of movies. It's a rock solid movie. I think it does hold up for the most part. It's entertaining. Really does show off the visual flourishes of Kubrick, his perfectionist tendencies. It's a joy to watch. It's an enjoyable film. Very short, but you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it if you haven't seen it already. Now we get to number 10, which we start to get to a couple films that I'm not going to lie, I've only seen like once, maybe twice, but it's been a while. And we'll kick that off with number 10, which is Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Love the Bomb. This is a solid film for when I first saw it. I need to rewatch it because I do feel like I'd be able to appreciate it more. But when I first saw it, I thought it was solid. It was well filmed. Some of the humor worked. The story was good, which is a surprise for comedies. The satire seemed to work. It's a good film. I wish I liked it more than other people. And who knows, maybe upon rewatch, I will. But for now, it's my number 10. Number 9 is a movie that it inspired one of the all-time greats. Well, of the 21st century, and that's Gladiator, which is the film it inspired, obviously. It's not actually a Kubrick film. The film that, obviously inspired Gladiator would be Spartacus, which stars Kirk Douglas. It's an enjoyable film. It's a hard film to watch, though, because it is a little over 3 hours, and sometimes it feels that way. But it really is the film that, it's the film that got Kubrick to say, you know what? I don't want studios to tamper with my vision. I want to be able to do whatever I want to do, and here I'm going to do it. So this was a film that kind of showed Kubrick still a little bit subdued because there was censorship involved with the film. Certain things that, especially for a time, they couldn't really show or imply. So, and it kind of does feel that way, and it's unfortunate because it is a film that visually it's incredible. It's very audacious. The makeup and costume design are fantastic, and the final scene of I Am Spartacus, it's a good film. I want to rewatch it. It's just every time I'm like, well, it's 3 hours, and I remember it being a bit repetitive in some scenes, but still a good film. That's why it's my number 9. Number 8 is the film that one half I loved, the other half I thought was just all right, and that's Full Metal Jacket. I respect this film, I really do, because this is a war film that it's unlike any other, especially with its split personality, where you have the one half, which is all comedy based and really worked, and then once a certain character dies, I don't want to say the film goes downhill because the second half is not bad, but Full Metal Jacket, it has that type of second half where it really does go to show just how fascinating / incredible the first half was versus the second half. And I guess it's just two different tones, but to me they kind of clashed. And that's why it's number 8. Still a good movie. Number 7 is, well, quite simply put, one of the best period piece movies ever. That's Barry Lyndon. This is a good movie. Quite long, but it's really good. It has perfect costume design and production design, similar to Spartacus, but it has these performances that are from actors that, as an American, I might point this out, I didn't really know these actors. So to see these performances, it felt very natural and audacious. And I like it when a filmmaker is able to use actors that are relatively unknown. And Kubrick did that. He did that with this film. And I think Barry Lyndon stands the test of time. It's a good movie. And yeah, I would recommend it, obviously. Number 6 is a short movie, black and white. It's a war film, very anti-war, but it makes sense. Given the content of this film, it works also, in my opinion. Kirk Douglas is in it, and that's Paths of Glory. It's a good movie. Paths of Glory is a simple premise, but the messages that it's getting across are important, and that's why I'm giving it the number 6 slot, as well as the fact that I think it's a really ambitious film, which I'm all about. Number 5 is this is when we're getting the more serious categories. Number 5 is Lolita. This film heavily inspires films like American Beauty, I believe The Apartment, and other films of that nature. And Lolita, I saw Lolita after I saw American Beauty and The Apartment, and I still found Lolita to be a fascinating story. It's based on a book, which I unfortunately didn't read, but Kubrick, even though he did have some censorship, it still kind of honestly helped with the film because it's a product of its time. You know, it's dealing with this very controversial subject matter. Even today, if it was filmed, it would be very controversial. But they do it in a very subdued, subtle manner. And I think that was fascinating that they decided to do it that way. It's a long movie, but I found it very interesting throughout. And, you know, that's why it's my number 5. So, number 5, great movie, subdued. Number 4, not really subdued, not really quite as subtle in some categories. And that's Eyes Wide Shut. Man, this movie can really screw you up. It's a really good movie, though. It's a simple premise about a man and wife who they essentially start talking about, you know, how the one, you know, wanted to have sex with another woman and let the wife know, and then the wife was like, oh, well, you know, I did. And then it ensues a nightmare-fueled night of imagery that you will surely always remember. It's a really good film. I would highly recommend it. I unfortunately don't own it, but it's still a film that I'm saying right now, go watch it if you haven't already. Let's get to the top 3, and I'm just throwing this right out the gate. The top 3 Kubrick films for me are the 3 films that I could go back and forth with any of these categories. Like, I could put my number 3 is my number 2, my number 1 is my number 3. It wouldn't matter because, in my opinion, all 3 of these are masterpieces. So let's get it out of the way. Number 3 is the film that I saw it when I was like 16. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but over the years I've just rewatched it many times, and I actually got to see an IMAX last year, and that's 2001: A Space Odyssey. This is a masterpiece. This is a film that the more you watch it, the more artistic it comes across, and the more ambitious and thought-provoking it can be seen as. And it's truly a work of art. If any film really influenced the science fiction genre, it's this movie, hands down. Check it out if you haven't, for some reason, seen it yet. My number 2 is a film that, in my opinion, should have won Best Picture in I believe it was 71. Well, let's get back to number 3 first. Number 3, 2001: Space Odyssey, didn't even get nominated for Best Picture, but at least number 2 did, and that's A Clockwork Orange. So A Clockwork Orange, I actually liked it right from the beginning, but over the years I've grown to appreciate it even more. I love this movie. I think the controversial subject matter really is brilliant. And not only that, the messages that it says about society and the growth of such, or the stiltedness of such, are very fascinating. I think the acting is also top-notch. It has this, you know, typical Kubrickisms where it's like, you know, well shot and fantastic music. And I'll get into Kubrick and, you know, why I like him or maybe why I dislike him. You know, I obviously at the end of this video. But let me just say, Clockwork Orange, love it. My number 1, you probably guessed it already, but it's one of my all-time favorites along with those other 2. But let's get to it. The Shining is my number 1 pick. I love this movie. I really do. It inspired so many other horror films. It works as an art house film. It works as a horror film, family drama. It's just an overall film that you watch and you just let it wash over you. And every time you watch it, you can pick up on little things that you didn't notice before. So that's my personal ranking, just straight to the point. Now, I always like to say at the end of my reviews why I like or dislike the director. And I mentioned possibly things I don't like about Kubrick. And there really isn't anything I dislike about him. I think he's a fascinating filmmaker. I think when you watch his movies, you can always tell going into it that you are going to be blown away by the cinematography and the symbolism. And you are. Every single time I am personally. Like, his films are always incredibly well shot. They're always filled with performances that feel very depth-filled and very, very well developed. He has score/soundtrack choices that I love. Usually soundtrack choices, I'm going to be honest. Like, a lot of the time, he'll use classical music or other music of such, and I love it. I also love his production design. The production design of his films are out of this world, honestly. And he really was a game changer. He was beyond his years. He is a filmmaker that gave us great, great movies. And even his films that are just okay, like Fear and Desire and Killer's Kiss, they still have trademarks of his that would be later developed in years to come. And it's why he's one of the best filmmakers. You know, I can understand why some people consider him the best filmmaker of all time. Me personally, he's up there. Not my favorite, but he is up there. And yeah, that's his 13 films of his that I ranked. Guys, what are your ranking lists of Stanley Kubrick? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below with where you rank his films. Also, join the discussion and don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and catch you guys later.